3D All-Stars has been cancelled. You can't buy it anymore. You missed out, you idiot. You realize that that's exactly how Nintendo wants you to feel, right? That's what they want you to think. If you went out and bought Super Mario 3D All-Stars because you felt a panic in your chest, or you felt like you were going to miss out on the next big collectible because it was only going to be available for a limited time. So maybe you even went out and you bought 2 copies because, well, why wouldn't you, right? It's a limited time. You have to get them while you still can. Then you fell right into Nintendo's trap. And this is a scarcity technique targeted at consumers by manufacturers to make you feel like there's this sense of urgency that otherwise wouldn't exist. If they release Super Mario 3D All-Stars, maybe you'd be like, it's a compilation disc, I don't really need one. But if they release it and say, you can only buy it for the next 6 months, well then you feel, oh my god, I need to get one. And when this happens, Nintendo doesn't even have to create a narrative of it's going to be rare or limited or anything like that. The public perception is what pushes that narrative. Everyone's telling everyone else that you need to go buy Super Mario All-Stars because it's going to be this rare limited game. Nintendo can just sit back at that point and do nothing. All they have to do is print it to demand, make sure you can get one. And here's the thing that you probably noticed. If you pre-ordered one, or maybe you went to the store at retail when it was released, you could get one. Maybe you even got 2 on your pre-order. Maybe you went to the store and you saw that the shelves were full of them and you bought 10. You could do that. Now, what does that tell you? There was no shortage on this game when it was released. At all. Supply was there and supply was ready. And that's despite this euphoria of everyone racing out to try and buy them. And with this thought in everyone's head that they're going to be buying this next big collectible, they have to buy it before it's discontinued, they're going to buy them, they might buy multiple, and they're going to keep them sealed. They're going to preserve them. They're going to hold on to these in mint condition because they know that they're buying a limited edition collectible. Now this is where understanding the actual fundamentals of a collectible has to come into play. If everyone's going out and buying something, keeping it in perfect condition, buying multiple of them, storing them, preserving them, and hoping to make money off of them, well then who the hell is the end consumer that is going to be the one to pay more for them? And these are the self-defeating actions that resellers, investors, speculators are all doing to themselves right now. If you go out and buy multiple copies of this game, if I go out and buy multiple copies and we're all keeping them sealed and we're all going to preserve them and store them and someday they're going to be worth so much money, well, all we did was create this excess supply of these items because Nintendo was printing it to demand. They were not going to let this item be short printed. So now everyone is sitting on multiple of these because Nintendo ensured that we could, and they created this false narrative that they told you needed to buy them because it's going to be limited. Then where is this excess demand going to come from in the future when the people who want one already have multiple or probably already bought a copy? So we need a whole nother wave of people who want to pay over retail now for this item that they could have bought for 6 months at retail. It was available everywhere. And these people now need to enter the market and want to pay over retail because they either want to own it, think it will go up more, or want to play it. And let's not forget that March 31st marks the day that it is ceased in production. This doesn't mean that retailers aren't allowed to sell them. It doesn't mean that they're off store shelves. It means that now no new stock is going to enter the market. So we still have thousands upon thousands of games sitting at retail, sitting online, sitting everywhere that need to be bought up by the market, which is probably going to be bought by people speculating, again, right? Keeping them sealed, keeping them in perfect condition. And then all of those still need to be taken out of the market before the reseller market can really start to command a premium. At this time, you can just pop onto eBay and see how many are still selling at retail price. There's hundreds, if not thousands, just on eBay alone. A lot of what becomes collectible and expensive, especially in video games, are not the items that were marketed as collectible video games. They're the ones that did not survive in immaculate condition because they were used, played, thrown away, etc. Do some modern items separate themselves from the pack and actually become pretty rare, pretty limited, pretty collectible? Yes, some do, but the vast majority will not. So whatever. That's just opinion, right? That's my opinion on the game. Let's actually talk about some numbers as to how many of these games are floating around out there and give a little bit of comparative analysis. So in 3 months since release, September 18th to December 31st, it is currently ranked as the 13th best-selling Nintendo Switch game. 3 months. So in those 3 months of selling, it has outsold popular titles already, such as Zelda Link's Awakening or Super Mario Maker 2. Just think about that. In 3 months, we've already sold more copies than Super Mario Maker 2 in 1.5 years. And I'm sure when I say Super Mario Maker 2, you don't immediately think, oh my god, I need to run out and go buy one. That's such a limited game. Are you starting to understand the psychology of what Nintendo did? Fundamentally speaking, at least Super Mario Maker 2 probably doesn't have that many people who bought them up to store them factory sealed. So in a lot of ways, Super Mario Maker 2 might be a better future speculative investment than Super Mario 3D All-Stars. What I want to do next is actually look at a super comparable item. And if you were newer to the collecting scene, you probably weren't around when this was released, but I want to look at how the Super Mario All-Stars 25th anniversary has fared in the 11 years since it has been released. Because that was another item that was actually pretty damn limited when it came out and was only on shelves for a very limited time. So Super Mario 25th Anniversary Edition, right? Comes in this beautiful custom packaging. Nintendo really gave a shit about this one. They really made a nice item for the 25th anniversary. And if you were collecting back in 2010 when it released, then you know that it was actually quite difficult to obtain one of these at retail. It actually had a very limited printing. Pre-orders were canceled. I remember some of my stores got like 2 copies of it. So you actually had to either be there at the store in person or you probably didn't get one. And immediately, this item was selling for 2 times retail. I think it was $60 and it immediately went over $100. I think it almost got up to $200 at one point. But what did Nintendo do? They gave it a reprint. And I'm not saying Nintendo just printed this thing into oblivion, they just did another print of the game. This printing though was much bigger than the first print, as they actually wanted to make sure that this game got into the hands of people who wanted it. Now Nintendo did announce this reprint before doing it. This wasn't a surprise to anyone, so people had a chance to prepare for a limited time printing. I'll let you take a second to guess what happened. People were pre-ordering and buying as many as they could to keep them factory sealed because it's a limited time printing. And people weren't wrong, it was a limited time printing. Once the second print was off the shelves, which took maybe a month at total, it was gone. They didn't print it again. So it was a limited time print. People weren't wrong about that. And what we ended up with were people sitting on factory cases of this game now. A factory case is a box of them where inside you'd have 6 games all lined up. So a factory sealed case. And maybe that sounds ridiculous to you, right? Who would buy up 6 of these copies? But it was a limited time printing, 25th anniversary, very nice packaging. Do you see where I'm going with this? So what, we're like 10, 11 years later now? Let's take a peek at how the 25th anniversary Mario All-Stars held up. Surely it's gone up in value quite a bit, right? It was this limited edition print that was made to be collected. You can buy copies for about $100. And there are completed listings even under that. Well, what the hell? Nintendo said this was a limited edition print. How can the 25th anniversary game barely be worth more than it was at retail over 10 years ago? So now let's compare this 25th anniversary to the 3D Mario All-Stars. The 25th anniversary is way fucking nicer, sold way less copies, it was cardboard, which meant that there was actually difficulty to maintaining its condition, and in 10 years, it's still worth nothing. What Nintendo did by making this a limited edition release is drive sales that far outweighed what organically would have sold. Instead of people just deciding if they want to buy 1 copy, you had people buying multiple copies now. You might have had people who bought 10. They used this scarcity as a weapon, and they made sure that they could print this thing to demand. This was extremely calculated, and the general masses bought into it, and that's all Nintendo needed. In 3 months of this game being released, they sold more copies than Super Mario Maker 2 has sold in 1.5 years. Just let that sink in. And yeah, sure, Mario Maker 2 will probably outsell it in the long run due to it being on the shelves longer. But there is absolutely no shortage of Super Mario All-Stars. And please, if you're feeling this need to run out and go buy one, or if you're feeling this FOMO of this game's gonna be worth so much in X amount of years, just take a step back and look at all the information around you. And if you're someone who's sitting on 5, 10, multiple copies of Mario All-Stars 3D, it would be my opinion that you should try to sell them into the market now while people are still feeling this FOMO and this need to buy it. It might be a long time before you can find someone to sell it to above retail again. Well, even if you disagree with my opinion on this, hopefully it made you at least see the other side of the argument. And if you're someone who felt like you need to go out and buy one right now, hopefully this helped curb your FOMO just a little bit. And most of all, just remember, if a company is manufacturing an item and they're telling you it's going to be rare, limited time sale, any of these scarcity tactics, it's generally not a good place to invest your money in the long term. These items perform very strong in the short term. If you just want to be a quick flip reseller and go buy the next limited edition at retail, there's a good chance you can probably make some money if you just sell it in the next week, month, whatever. Anyway, make sure to comment down below if you feel differently. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. And these are the actions that these... And this is... Surely it held up. The first thing... No. No, I don't need a haircut.